Hello and welcome to Unit 2 Africa Digs Lesson 6. In Unit 1, we worked on asking and answering questions with who, what, when, and where. Now we will focus on some other question words. It is critical to understand what a question is asking and how to answer it. We will become familiar with these question words and learn exactly how to answer these type of questions. Turn in your student workbooks to page 14. I want you to follow along as I review the information on the chart. Remember that if a question asks who, your answer must include information about a group or a person. If your question asks what, your answer must include an action or a name of a thing. If the question asks when, your answer must include a specific time, date, or event. If your question asks where, your answer must include a general location or specific place. If the question asks is or are, your answer must include yes or no plus an explanation. If the question asks do or does, your answer must include a yes or no plus an explanation. If the question asks why, your answer must include a reason or explanation and usually includes the word because. If the question asks how, your answer must include the way that something is done. I already pointed out that skilled readers preview the text for features such as headings and graphics. They also reread text slowly and carefully to gain understanding. Skilled readers monitor their thinking while reading to be sure that each sentence and paragraph makes sense. They look for answers to big idea questions. Skilled readers also ask themselves and others questions about their reading. You will learn more about asking good questions. The heading on page 14 is question words. The top of the page provides hints on how to answer the question. The chart at the bottom of the page lists signal words or question words that you can use to ask good questions. This time, when we read Africa Digs, we will ask questions about the text. Doing this helps us to understand what is important. We will also answer the questions that we ask. Now turn to page 43 in your student workbooks. Let's do what good readers do and reread Africa Digs with a focus on asking and answering questions. Remember what you do when you read. Your eyes need to track or follow the text while your eraser points to the words. While you're busy looking and pointing to text, your brain is busy looking for patterns and making meaning. While listening, you should be aware of questions that come to mind and questions that you can ask others. What I'm going to have you do is read silently using your pencil to guide your reading. And I want you to look up when you finish reading each section so that I know you're ready to move on. Eyes ready? Pencil ready? Let's begin. I want you to read the first 14 lines, or the introduction. Look up when you have finished reading. Now turn to page 65 in your student books. Think about the text. What questions do you have, or what should your peers have learned about the African dig in this section? Choose one word to begin your question. Consider starting your question with who or where. Write the question on the page. Be prepared to answer your question or someone else's question out loud. Now let's turn back to the passage. Next, you will read steps 1 and 2. Eyes ready? Pencil ready? Let's begin. Now turn again to page 65. Choose a different question word. Try using what or when. Write the question on the page. Be prepared to answer questions out loud. Now it's time to read steps 3 and 4. Eyes ready? Pencil ready? Let's begin. Let's ask more questions. Turn to page 65 in your student book. It will be more difficult, but use a question word that you haven't used yet. Try using where or is or are. Write the question on the page. Be prepared to answer the questions out loud. Now let's read steps 5 and 6. Turn back to page 65. Choose a different question word. Try using what or how. Write the question on the page. Be prepared to answer questions out loud. Now it's time to read steps 7 and 8. Eyes ready? Pencil ready? Let's begin. Now turn to page 65 in your student workbooks. Let's ask more questions. Try using how or why. Write the question on the page. Be prepared to answer questions out loud. It's time to finish the steps with step 9, step 10, and finally share the discovery. I want you to read silently as we've done so far. Look up when you've finished. Eyes ready? Pencil ready? Let's begin. Now turn to page 65. Write your last question on the page. Try using what or why for this question. Be prepared to answer your questions out loud. Now turn to pages 66 and 67. Now we will answer other questions about Africa Digs for more practice. Some of the questions may be similar to the questions you already asked and answered. You're going to read each question. You're going to identify and underline the question word. I want you to go ahead and underline the words question word in your instructions so you know to do so. Then you're going to use the chart on page 14 to review the type of information required to respond to the question. You'll use text headings or other text features in the passage to locate the content or information needed to answer each question. Then you will reread the section to retrieve exact information to use as text evidence. So let's look at number 1. Who led the dig in Niger, Africa? If the question asks who, the answer must include a person or a group. I can look in the text to find the answer. On page 43, lines 3 and 4, it says that in 1997, Dr. Cerino led a dig in Niger, Africa. This is my text evidence. Now I will write my answer. I want to make sure that my answer is enough for me to look at and learn from, so I need to include part of the question in my answer. Notice the sentence starter and sentence frame on the board. You're going to fill in the blanks as I formulate the answer. Dr. Cerino led the dig in Niger, Africa. So go ahead and write that for your answer. And then remember to go back and look for that text evidence I just discussed. Now let's look at number 2. Why did Dr. Cerino need help from the Troireg tribe?